Whether you're planning to get married or just got married, everyone seems like they have all this great marriage advice. Yet, not all advice is good advice. But before I get into all that, let me welcome you back to my channel. My name is Ayanna, and this is Beyond Committed, where we talk about everything from life, faith, family, marriage, motherhood, and everything in between, and we take them beyond. If this is your first time here, welcome, and I'm so glad you stopped by. And to make sure you're not a stranger, make sure you press that subscribe button below and then turn on notifications so you don't miss a video. All right, now let's dive right in. Remember when my husband Eric and I were planning our wedding and first getting married. I mean, it felt like everybody had something to say. Everybody wanted to share the good, the bad, and the ugly about marriage from their perspective. Some advice was great, and some advice was, let me think about that. And then over time, we realized that there was a lot of advice that we held on to, and there was some that we had to let go of because it wasn't the best advice or it wasn't right for us. One thing that we held on to that I'm so grateful we did was keeping God first and centered in not just our lives as individuals, but in our marriage. Did we do that perfectly? No, and we still don't. Did we actually follow that advice at first? Not so much, if I can be honest. We were wanting to have a God-centered marriage, but at that time, we really didn't know how to work that out or walk that out. So it wasn't until probably about a year after we were married when we joined a local church for the first time together as a couple and realized, okay, what does marriage look like? What does submission look like? How do we walk this out? How does my husband love me sacrificially? How do I honor and respect him? And there were so many different things that we just needed to learn about having a God-centered marriage, but it was something that was a great piece of advice and something that I give to all couples as well, but it also is a journey that you have to learn to kind of walk out in your marriage. And then there's some of the advice you're like, I don't know about that. And one piece of advice that I thought was good advice at first until I actually started to walk out our marriage and look at the reality of what it was really saying. And I realized, you know what, that is not good advice. And I don't want anybody else to take that advice as something that they should walk out. And that is the piece of advice that a lot of people give in that marriage is 50-50. And I actually don't agree. I don't agree for three very important reasons. One of the reasons why I don't believe that marriage is 50-50 is when is giving less than 100% in your marriage okay? Let's just be honest. Because if we look at it just from a numbers perspective, 50-50 means I give this much, you give this much, and they should add together to get 100. But in the reality of life, that doesn't always work out that way. And it's so important that in marriage, as wives and as husbands, we are giving 100% of ourselves to making sure that we are nurturing, caring for, loving, respecting, and honoring each other. And that means we need to give 100%, not 50%. It's not, okay, I give this much and meet him here. He gives this much to meet me here, and then this is where we're going to be, because sometimes you're not going to meet there all the time. And it's so important that in marriage we are intentional about giving 100%, realizing that if I give 100% to my marriage and he's giving 100% to his marriage, then we're both committing to putting in the work together to help it go, realizing that sometimes that 100% is just not going to be enough. And we have to rely on God for that. But it's so important that we are intentional about giving our all, realizing that it's not about giving 50-50. It is about being 100 all the time. Because also, if we look at it like this, marriage is where two become one. So these two whole individuals, these two whole 100% individuals are coming together to create this beautiful new union. And they need to bring their full selves to that. So it's so important that we look at marriage not as, okay, I'm going to give just enough to give here, and then he should give just enough to meet me here. No, we're going to give everything that we can to do what we can to make it work and trust that God is in the midst of it all, making sure that our 100% doesn't just make it enough, but it makes it more than enough. And another reason why I don't believe that marriage is 50-50 is that husbands and wives have different roles. So we need to show up 100% in our roles, in the things that make our marriage work. There are some biblical roles. You know, a wife is called to submit to her husband, called to be a helpmate. A husband is called to be the servant leader of his home and to love his wife. These are different roles and they may show up in different ways, but they also are going to look differently in your home. And it's so important that we are intentional about showing up fully in the wife role in our home, and our husbands are fully showing up 100% in the husband role in our homes. And realize that also this may look different in different seasons, and sometimes you only have so much to give based on the constraints or based on whatever is going on in your life. Because I know for my husband, Eric, and I, we have gone through different seasons of life over the last 14 plus years that we've been married. And there are some times where I'm giving 100% and he's giving 100%. And there are some times when I'm giving maybe 70 and he's giving 100. And it's like an ebb and flow because it's the other things in life that are kind of pulling on us, the other things in life that are kind of, taking our attention. Let's take kids, for example. When you add kids to the mix in marriage, whoo, it's like, all bets are off in some respects. Like, okay, everything that was working before, everything we went to and everything we were doing before, we may have to readjust. We may have to do differently. It doesn't mean that we stop loving well. It doesn't mean that we stop submitting and loving and being helpmates and being respectful and honorable and all those things. But how it's going to show up in your marriage is going to be different. How you are going to walk it out is going to be different. And how much time you have is going to be different. Let's be honest. In the newlywed phase and the phase before kids, or if you don't have kids and don't plan to have kids, that is cool too. In those seasons, you have more time. But what happens if you have kids and add that to the mix? That's more time. What if you start to build a business? That takes more time. What if you have a career? What if you have a sick parent or relative, somebody that requires care, so now you are readjusting your time and everything. So it's so important that in marriage you are intentional about giving your 100%, realizing that your roles are different in your marriage. So you have to make sure you are giving 100%, not just giving 50 and he gives 50 and supposedly this adds up to be 100. No, you have to be intentional about putting your all in the role in which you have, so that you can sustain, nurture, and grow the marriage that you have, realizing that you're both fully committed to putting in 100%. And the last reason that I don't believe that marriage is 50-50 is because life happens. And the fact that we can't just be committed to just doing 50%. We can't just be committed just doing my part or doing my half. We have to be committed to doing everything we can do to nurture, sustain, grow, and love on our spouse as well. And I know for me, that shows up differently at different seasons. And I know it shows up for you differently, especially in the hard season. And like I've said before, sometimes you can be intentional about giving 100%, but all you're really giving is 70, or you may just be giving 50 because that's really all you have to give in this season, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, exhaustion, overwhelm, whatever it is. I mean, so many different things we go through in life, and we can have the intention of showing up a full 100%. I'm going to handle all my wife duties and do all the things and do them well. And that may be an intention, and then sometimes it just doesn't show up that way. So we have to give ourselves grace. We have to give ourselves, that space to, okay, this was my intention. It didn't show up that way. But if your intention in your marriage overall is to give 100%, then you and your husband will give each other that grace. You will know that, okay, we're in a season where he's doing his best. And he sees that you're in a season where you're doing your best. So it doesn't feel like, okay, they're giving less than, or they're not giving, as much as I need. They're giving all they can, because overall in your marriage, you are intentional about doing and giving your all. You are intentional about giving 100%. So when life happens and, your 100% isn't showing up how it used to, you both know, care, and love each other enough and give each other the grace to know that, okay, she may not be showing up as how she wants or how she can or how she used to. And the same thing may happen for your husband. But you know that overall, you are both intentional about putting 100% into your marriage. So it's okay that right now or today or for this short season that you may not be able or, not have the opportunity to show up 100%. But the fact that your intention and the fact that you do intentionally put in the work overall to show up 100% and not just put in 50-50, there's the grace and there's the love. And then the other covers, because love covers and love keeps. And it's so important that we are reminded of that, and we are intentional about putting our 100%, because 50-50 is just not enough. All right, that's it for today. And I want to know, do you think marriage is 50-50? Yes or no? Let me know in the comment box below. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and then make sure you press that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a video. All right, now until I see you again, bye.